The following podcast is brought to you by Inebriated Records.
You know it's a tough job, but somebody's gotta do it. You talk about beating people up. Well, it's a Powder Out podcast, and I hope it's okay because there's nothing you can do about it, brother.
That's right. Powder. The fame, money, now our own podcast.
It's P.O.P. We're powdered up, we are out of our minds, and we are taking over wrestling podcasts. We're going to fight, scratch, claw, and maybe even bite you for every view you got.
It's the new way. Is that okay, billionaire boss Brandon?
I think the whole world wants to know one thing about pop. When is it? What time?
You guys know something? I almost forgot something really important. Powder Out Podcast is live right now. I forgot. It slipped my mind. Whoa. Well, woo! Woo! Happy Sunday, everybody! Welcome to the Powder Out Podcast tonight with your hosts, Bubba, Michael Bolton, and JP.
Bubba, I always get.
Bubba.
Hi there, Bubba. It always makes me crack up every time that laugh. You have such. Right there.
It's great. We lost him. Technical difficulties are never fun. Okay there, Michael. Hey. Do we want to give JP a little wait?
Sure.
Or do we want to screw it? It's JP's guest, but we'll take it over.
Oh yeah, let's take it over.
We take it by force. Ready for the force? Dr. Quack.
Well, hello, gentlemen. How you guys doing?
Good.
Doing well. Thank you for giving us a little part of your Sunday. We appreciate
thank you for having me.
Yeah, especially during Sunday Night Football. We appreciate taking that time out.
Yeah, definitely. No problem.
Are you one of those fantasy football ones?
No, and it's funny because my son just messaged me and he's like really mad because Gronkowski's out of this game and he needed a Gronkowski.
Isn't he a one-match wrestler person?
What'd you say?
Oh,
Isn't
yes.
he a commentator from a WrestleMania?
Gronkowski did do, what was that, WrestleMania 30, 31, when he was in the, it was like the Battle Royale at the beginning.
Yeah, the 24/7 title.
Yeah, he won that too.
Oh,
yeah, wasn't
too? Yeah,
he was there with I can't think of his name.
Mojo Rawley.
Yes, Mojo Rawley.
Oh, yes. So enough about that then. Because JP is the one who brought it, Dr. Quack to us. JP, you open us up. What do you want to start discussing with Dr. Quack tonight?
Well, thank you for coming, Dr. Quack. I know you're quite busy with everything you got going on. I guess just tell us where you started your career, maybe a few career highlights. We'll go from there.
Yeah, I can do that. I mean, I started my career in 1999. I was in toward the end of the Attitude Era. I was down in the Army at this point. I was at Fort Hood, Texas. And I got to read a piece of paper here, a good old newspaper. And it had in there, it had a man named Mr. Mayhem. And at the bottom of it, it said, if you want to be a pro wrestler, give this guy a call. So I called, and on the other end of the phone was my trainer, the Necro Butcher. And he goes, how much you weigh, kid? And I said, about 180. He said, how tall are you? About 5'9". He said, well, come on down. We'll figure out something for you. And he took me in there, and we started bumping. And after the first practice, I ended up dragging my leg back to the barracks. But, I trained for about 4 months and started my career.
Oh, that's awesome. But what drove you to, like, that's a great start to it. But, like, what drove you to it? Was there always just like that childhood passion, like people say, or was it came late and you're just like, oh, this is
actually a little different here. I was 4 years old, and I was at my grandmother's house. My grandfather, he's sitting there watching wrestling, and he's telling my real name. He's like, come here. And he sits me on his lap, and we're watching my very first match, Don the Rock Morocco and Jimmy Superfly Snuka in the steel cage, the one where Mick Foley was at. And I got to watch this match, and he looks at me after this match, and he goes, you're going to do this when you get older. And I'm like 4 years old, and I'm like, okay, Grandpa, So from there, I started studying it and, always watching it and reading about it and everything. And I kind of did it for him because he loved professional wrestling. He would come out. I remember him one time, he was always saying, how come that little son bitch beat that big son bitch, damn it? He always thought the shit was real. He didn't understand choreography yet.
Now, when you say Necro Butcher, I have a few questions to ask.
Sure, by all means. You in the back.
Now, I love deathmatch wrestling. Necro Butcher is close to my heart as a fan. Like, I fucking love Necro Butcher.
Jim Cornette called him the grandfather of deathmatch wrestling.
100%. What is your takes, and what era did he train you? Did he train you during his deathmatch eras, or did he train you?
I got to see him before he got big. When he was down there, he was living in Fort Hood. He was traveling all over Texas. The first big match I really got to see him in was him and Terry Funk, and I got to see Terry Funk throw fire in his face.
Ooh, that's fucking awesome.
I was working security that night. I rolled with Necro. When you roll with Necro and Associates, trust me, you were protected because it's Necro, and they knew that.
I heard rumors. How many blunts would Necro smoke before his matches? Blunts or bottles?
Oddly, I couldn't tell you because he never did it around me, thank God. He always told us, to keep it straight and go out there and do the best you can and go work. But yeah, drug-wise, I never was around for him.
Well, just cannabis. Cannabis isn't really a drug where I'm from.
I know, and that's fine. Cannabis, I've seen him smoke an occasional one, and I've smoked an occasional one with him. But, outside of that, no, I've never really seen him before do that.
He's a god.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely, one of the greatest hardcore wrestlers. And here's what's funny. I'm going to tell you a story. When I went to World League Wrestling, Harley Race, right? Rest in peace. The booker looked at me because I told him I was trained by the Necro Butcher and thought I was just a backyard, wrestler. I didn't know anything. I didn't know how to work. Necro knew how to work. Necro chose the deathmatch life because it paid. When you're getting paid, anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a match, yeah, you're going to do deathmatch over working on the indie scene for $40 to $100 a night.
100%.
Big time.
Oh, I can see that. Business-wise, that makes much more sense.
And he was damn good at it. He went to Combat Zone. He's been all over. He's been in Japan. He's been everywhere. He was in The Wrestler. The man's done a lot.
So you started there. Where else, like throughout your history, have you been? Have you been up to like the local like WWE? Were you ever in WWE or?
I was never in WWE. I was scouted by WWE in Tennessee. That is really wild. I was wrestling for a promotion there called AWA Tennessee. It was Tennessee faction out of the American Wrestling Association. And we used to have guys come from Nashville to our show, and they would be watching us. And, we got approached by scouts telling us, what things we were doing good and what things we were doing bad, just to, get us, in the right direction.
Did you ever wrestle for Jerry King's Memphis, Tennessee wrestling? Memphis
No,
wrestling?
I never got that opportunity. I did get to meet Jerry Lawler many years later, but I never got the opportunity to wrestle for Jerry Lawler. I mean, it was great times. A lot of people, they think, I can enter the wrestling business. I'm instantly going to be a star, and I'm going to be able to go out and be somebody. It takes years. It does. My first 3 years in the business, I had about 3 matches. And they were all job matches. I was jobbing my ass off. Didn't care. Pin me, pay me. A lot of times I was working security. I was working ring crew. I was doing whatever was asked of me by promoters.
Yep.
I
said it's just that grind for something that when you really want to work at something that you love, and like you said, that craft, and you're willing to put it in and just be the security.
And it takes a lot of work. It really does. I mean, after my 3 years, when I first started wrestling, I was known as a no-name jobber. I was known as Davey Kemp. I was a guy that got my ass whooped. It didn't matter, And I went to Tennessee. I was in the Army. I transferred to Fort Campbell. I got out, and I went to wrestle for AWA. I went to talk to the promoter, Tom Davison. He's now passed away, but he was a hell of a promoter. He gave me my first push. He allowed me to go out there and really work strong. And I got to work with a guy named Sean Dempsey. He wrestled all over the place. He reminded me a lot of Kevin Sullivan. He didn't have the size with him, but God, was he physical. I mean, he would lay shots into you that most of you guys get knocked out on. Trust me, I've been nailed before.
Speaking of Kevin Sullivan,
yeah.
I'm sorry to bring this up again. Do you think he did it?
Do I think Kevin Sullivan did what?
The Benoit murders.
Huh?
I don't know. When I go up to the pearly gates and I get to ask God a question before whatever happens to me, that's what I want to know. I want to know what happened to Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit was my favorite wrestler of all time. He was a man that I loved watching work. It didn't matter if it was 93 or if it was 2003 or 2006. I got to see him 2 weeks before he ended up dying. I got to watch him at a live show at SmackDown at a 6-man tag, which was awesome. He put Fit Finlay in a sharpshooter and got the match. But, Benoit was the greatest. Do I know if Kevin Sullivan did it? No. I don't think Benoit did it either. And honestly, I'm one of those guys that is conspiracy theorist. I don't think he did it. I think he belongs in the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, in the WWE Hall of Fame. I mean, the man's credit is known. The best technical wrestler probably in the world ever, in my opinion.
I don't think he did it either. I'm 100% saying he should be in the Hall of Fame. I walked into a conversation and I heard Kevin Savolian, and he was a part of that. So that's the only reason why I brought that up.
I mean, Kevin Sullivan was a hell of a work. You watch him in the 70s and 80s. I mean, he was just physical, and he had psychology. That's something that's missing today. Psychology is so damn important.
It is.
Did you ever go?
He had the mind of a fucking genius. But I'm not a Sullivan fan, but I can respect his promos. I can respect his managership. I can respect his ring work. But as a person, fuck him.
I understand. There's people in the business I can say that about. I'm not going to mention their names because I don't feel like starting the heat. We don't like to draw heat, folks. But yeah, there's some guys out there that professionally I respect them, but personally I think they suck.
Now, can I ask you one more question?
Sure, ask away.
But other people have questions too.
Sure.
Have you ever inquired a promoter that has either fucked off with the cash box, or a promoter that has faked a heart attack, or a promoter that has fucked over the boys in the back?
Oh God, all three. I've seen all three of those. Hell, I've been a part of a couple of those shows.
May I ask what happened?
So here we go. Here's a good detailed story for you. There was a guy who won the lottery, and this was out in Kansas. So you may know this guy. You may know KOW. Yeah, Benoit is innocent. I can totally agree with that. Thank you. Yeah, this guy out in Kansas here decided to run a promotion. He won third place in a Texas Hold'em tournament, got $250,000, right? His brother was dying to get him to work and run this show. So they did it. They bought all this security and they bought this building and they hired all these guys to come out there. They hired Ricky Morton. They hired Chase Stevens, Damian Van Horn, Primetime Amy Lee. How I'm connected, this is the only way I'm connected to all this. I had a promoter friend of his contact me and ask me, hey, do you know any female workers that could come out and work this weekend? I said, sure. I recommended this lady, Bunny Love. Bunny Love, she was a sweetheart. She knew how to work, and she was trained right. So I recommended her. They flew her out. So they did the show at what we like to call a birthday party, right? Because basically there was all these guys there that had wrestled a combined probably 6 matches in their career. You know, some of these guys were 1 match, maybe 2 match, you know, coming over here, putting on the likes of Ricky Morton and such. And they came out there and they thought they all were supposed to go over, right? All these no-name ham and eggers going to go fight legends, right? Well, Damian Van Horn, God, I love him. You know, he's like a brother to me. They locked up and he said, we're changing the finish. And he did what the franchisers was. That jawjacker knocked him out for real in the ring. So they did that, and all the matches went on. Well, they went to the backstage, and I'm gonna teach a little bit here. The first person you pay, let's ask this: who do you pay first in the locker room? Out of all those guys I mentioned,
Easy.
Legends.
right? But who is it?
No. You pay the venue first.
Okay, I'm talking about the boys. Venue, yes. But the boys, when you pay the boys first, the first one to get paid is Ricky Morton. Why?
Yeah.
Because he's the senior vet.
Yeah.
So these jackasses come out here and they decide to pay the 2 females first. Okay? One female took the money and left. The other one said, no, you need to go pay the fucking legend.
Oh, the girl ran off with that?
Oh, yeah. Ran off with her share, and I get it. She got paid. I'm not faulting her for that. She got paid. She left.
Wait,
maybe she didn't know.
Share or the show's share? Like, I'm talking
Her share.
Job.
Her share, like her payout.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? So, yeah, she walked out with her payout. The other one looked at the promoter and said, no, you need to pay him before you pay me. Right? So they shortchanged everybody else. And my buddy there decided to take the keys and decided to take the lag top to him of his and said, take the keys to his truck and said, until I get my money, you're not getting my stuff. You're not getting the stuff back. And police came, right? Oh boy, police came in the back. You know, this does happen at times. And the police came, and what do you think they did? Do you think they arrested anybody?
Nope.
Fuck no. They marked the fuck out. They're like, yeah, man, do you know John Cena? Yeah, you know The Rock, man? Yeah, you know all them guys? Yeah. You know, they're marking the fuck out back there. That's normal. We're used to seeing that shit as wrestlers. So they looked at the promoter and they said, well, until you pay him his money, you need to go to the ATM now and go pay his money. So they took him to the ATM. He drew out everything they could. And, you know, he paid them everything he could there. They still got screwed a little bit. And Chase Stevens got screwed on a fucking flight because that promoter down in Nashville that was booking him for a major show had to pay for another flight and had to pay extra just to get him back down there for that night. So they screwed up a lot of shit. This promotion here ended up getting banned in the state of Kansas because, A, they did not pay the Special Olympics what money they promised them. They did not pay the wrestlers what they were promised. And they did not pay the most important person, according to this, the athletic commission. If you don't pay the athletic commission, they shut you down. They had to pay their 5% to the athletic commission, according to the state of Kansas at that time. So, yeah, they got completely shut down.
Okay.
You got rules. And it seems like in wrestling, there is like seniority.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like a big thing. It's like you all do hold, you're veterans of it. It's like those that if you've been in this for that 15 years, like you are, respect your elders is a very big thing in wrestling. Correct?
Fuck yes.
Like that's, yeah, you're right. That is a huge thing.
Dude, I will tell you this. You never stop paying your dues. You never stop paying your dues. I've been in 20 years, and I still am learning things about the business.
Yeah. It's one of those.
And you still show respect to the legends before you. You go out there, and you may see a legend coming in struggling to carry their bag. You carry their bag in that locker room. You take care of them because those were the guys who were before you.
Yep.
Now,
That's the way I was trained.
There you go. I mean, it is. They've paved the way for where you are at now. So they show that it seems like some of them earn that for sure.
Now, what do you think of like
Internet's been
FMW?
POS.
It's all right. What do you got, Bubba?
Oh, mine is what I'm saying is I kind of want to go in a little different direction there. For the last
Sure.
9 minutes of our interview of it, because I know you've been asked tons of questions about those, but let's do something a little light. Like, what would be your dream character and storyline if you could be in any era and have any wrestlers there?
I mean, I loved my character. That was definitely what I loved to do until I came out because I was medicine. I would have loved to have worked in the 80s. Because the 80s, in my opinion, was where wrestling was. Yes, the Attitude Era, 96 to 01 was great. But wrestling back in 83 to roughly 89 was a different era. This is when you had the rock and wrestling going on. This is when you had, a lot of the guys who could be gimmicks and still be stars. Repo Man, one of my favorites. Repo Man had a shitty gimmick, right? Demolition Smash, whatever you want to call it, Process Cruciate. But guess what? He made the most out of that. And he made it into something where people remember it. The Mountie, other guys like that. I love the 80s.
Yeah, the 80s, I know when I've seen it, it seems more pure. Like, it's more of just a pure version of wrestling.
Well, it was real back then. Like, there wasn't any like all of them stayed kayfabe. If you were good, you hung with a good. If you're bad, you stayed in that character. That's who you were 24/7. Unless you're, in the back with the boys.
It was a fraternity.
The punches they weren't hitting, like pro wrestling, you know what's going on when you get into that ring. I have been to a lot of independent shows, and I have been around people in the back training for their matches that night. You can, as some, like, I know that personally, like.
Oh, I've heard brawls in there. Like, watch like the stories about LOD. They'll talk about they went in there and people working stiff, and so they'll just fight back. They'll be like a big old brawl almost.
And because you guys, right? You guys watch Dark Side of the Ring, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you do because it's definitely something. I'm telling you, this is me talking here. I don't feel there's going to be a fourth season.
Oh, no. There's so much
You know why? You know why I say that? Because anytime anybody talks about the past, all of a sudden cancel culture comes out there and says, no, you're wrong. Look what happened to Ric Flair. Look what happened to Tommy Dreamer.
Dude, I got told I can't talk about that on air.
I know.
Bring up my thoughts on that right now.
No. If it got brought up naturally.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but Josh
but
said
you
he
look at
hasn't
that.
watched it yet.
If you're
So
a guy that wrestled in the 80s or the 90s during the wild times of wrestling, would you want to come on and talk publicly about things?
well, there was no
Somebody
social media
called
back then. No.
his penis. The boys in the back were howling, and that's all who cares about it. It was a big bit. It was funny as fuck for them. Leave it
Yeah.
at that. It was a big joke.
Yeah, but it's so jacked how people take it.
Oh, I know. It's fucked.
I wish they had social media back in like the 80s. I think
Oh,
Hulk
I know.
Hogan on like Twitter would have been the best shit. Hulk Hogan and Andre having a Twitter feud. How could you just
Well, yeah,
Well, I
but
don't
you
think
think
you could
about that.
understand Andre.
Were you guys, big Hacksaw Jim Duggan fans?
Oh, yeah.
I've met
You
him.
think about
I got an
this.
autograph.
Because you think about this, when him and Sheik got arrested in New York, for doing drugs and drinking and driving and shit, and that shit would have hit social media, do you think Jim Duggan would have got cut?
Oh, hell no.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he would have got cut.
Yeah, he
But
would've.
because it wasn't publicized, he was able to keep on and win the very first Royal Rumble.
Yep.
And that was
And he's a legend.
Well, there's stories I've heard about like other wrestlers that there's so many stories that they won't tell. I'm pretty sure Roddy Piper probably kept a lot of those stories to his grave because there's probably stuff that he just couldn't talk about that happened back then.
Oh,
Of course. And the big one that everyone wants to know, but nobody knows the answer and never will get the answer is the Macho Man Stephanie McMahon scandal.
Mhm.
Nobody will get that answer. Stephanie's not going to talk about it. Macho's dead. Lanny's not probably going to talk about it either.
Trivia.
No.
Where was
And
the
Vince
first
sure as hell's not going to talk about it.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I mean, it's just things like that. It's like when you want to go express the stories. Believe me, I've got a ton of stories, but some of them I ain't going to tell on air.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing that does. I do feel bad for wrestlers like nowadays. Of it is like one little slip and they're on you.
So really quick, Dr. Quack, you had your own promotion for a while as well?
I did. I had Central Championship Wrestling. I was running a promotion. Only ran a couple shows. It was a learning experience because it helped me towards when I was working with Stranglehold Championship Wrestling. Thank God. I mean, I got to meet Eric Nelson. He was the promoter there, for a long time, and I got to work a lot of production.
Wait, you say string?
He froze.
I think it froze. Yeah, it happened to me too. He'll probably come back in. There he is.
He'll slowly come back there.
Yeah, I think Stranglehold's in.
It's fine.
Bubba versus JP for the KFC belt next week. Who has a KFC belt? That'd be amazing.
I don't know. I'll go get a 12-piece bucket, make something.
I'll get a big old sandwich and some coleslaw, but
I'm keto tings.
I might have to.
So as he's frozen out there for a second, let's answer this one for ourselves a bit. And then when Dr. Quack gets back, we can hear him. What?
There's one guy you'd love to trip with. How would you ride? Oh man, the two. This might get me in trouble a little bit too, but either Dusty Rhodes, because I was a big fan of Dusty Rhodes, or Ric Flair. It's going to be a wild night if you go with Ric Flair.
I do think Ric Flair would have been fun back then, but
It would have been a wild night if he went.
Are we talking about trips or trip? Like, who would
Going on a
remember
trip?
I'm
with?
talking about road trip, and I'm saying who would you want to
Oh,
road
God.
trip and how? Like, would you want to go in like a RV, an airplane, or would you just want to go in?
Okay. I thought
You want to know the hell of going on road trips?
Who?
I would have to say Nick Gage, maybe rob a bank or two, and Ric Flair.
Yeah, but I said Ric Flair. But then, what were you
What
saying?
about you,
Doc?
Dr. Quack?
What's yours? Yeah.
I was just saying road trips. Oh yeah, let me tell you, when you put 6 people in a car and you're driving for 5 hours to go to a show and get lucky to get paid $75 to $100, that's what's fun about it. You know, it's like you see them pop out like a clown car.
But isn't there something to that? Like, I'm just learning about like this because I just did this like 2 months ago. I made a 6-hour trip to go perform 3 minutes of stand up at this one club, not getting paid anything, to turn around and drive 6 hours back to go to work. Just because it was an exposure to something that I needed to do.
For the love of the
And I
game.
love to do it, yeah. So when you have passion behind it, that stuff's fun to it, and that's why, yeah. So I
that-
still think Big Show in an RV would be fun.
So, like, with those, like, car rides, does it get kind of smelly after a while? Everybody's probably ripping ass and everything.
Oh yeah, believe me, it's rough, man. I mean, you're rolling down windows, you know, in the middle of winter, freezing your ass off, but don't want to smell anybody else's ass. Yeah, you know, when you get that guy who has that, you know, gear that smells like kitty litter. Yeah, you don't want to deal with that.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that would be hard. At least mine, I get to be by myself. I don't
Yeah.
have to-
I would not want to go with Mick Foley back in the day. I heard he did, like, he would shower, but then he would put the stuff back on, would wash it. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I bet he was gross. I could see.
I mean, a lot of times I traveled, I was driving, so I had a car, so usually I was hauling people. You know, which was fine. I mean, that meant, dude, I'm driving. I can control everything. I'm putting on the fucking music. You don't like it, shut the fuck up. I'm going to drive anyways.
did you ever go international, like either over to like Japan or Europe or Canada?
No,
or
I
anything?
didn't, unfortunately. I never got a chance to go over there. I always wanted to go to Japan. Always did, but never got the opportunity.
Now, would you ever pull out? Are you in retirement or?
Yes. I mean, from in-ring competition, yes. Am I still a consultant for some promoters? Yes.
Would you ever think about getting back into it? And what would it take for you to?
I don't think-
Probably
yeah.
not. I mean, the wrestling world has changed a lot over the years, and I think a lot of guys just use this as a stepping stone to go to other platforms like movies or talk shows or other stuff. You know, and good thing for them. Good job to John Cena and The Miz and others who have done it. You know, but that's what it came down to. Nobody really wants to stay a professional wrestler unless they're at the top for 20 years, I've learned.
Now, what was some of the bigger promotions you may have worked for except WWE? Like anything with ROH, Impact, anything in that independent, bigger area?
Well, you know, probably World League Wrestling for Harley Race was probably one of the biggest places I got to work. You know, I was involved in a 15-man battle royal there. I got to wrestle out there towards the Monster Factory, New Moon Rising Wrestling, AWA. I got to wrestle for them. I got to wrestle for the NWA a little bit.
That sounds cool. Any of those? So I'm curious of this in general. Kind of a question for all is. So I know, not like national TV. None of these are. Are some of those ever done like on like local TV? Do they ever like at public access? Do you?
Yes.
I think Monster Factory does, don't they?
Yeah, Monster Factory will stream theirs. A lot of feds will stream theirs. But back in my days, I mean, I was wrestling on local television in Tennessee. I got seen there, a little bit down in Georgia, more towards the East Coast as well.
Oh, that's
We
cool.
have one here, AWF, that's like an indie promotion here in Minnesota, and they go
Yes.
on like channel 45, and it's like on every Saturday. I mean, it's not the full show, but it's like highlights, or they show a couple matches. It's really fun. I've helped them put their ring up before. I've been to the show. I know some of the wrestlers. Tony DiNucci is one that I'd love to get him on. I would have to talk to him again, but yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, he's really nice. I met Chris Masters at that time too. Kind of an ass, but you know, it is what it is.
Some guys are.
What would you say was your highlight of your career? Since we're
Probably
kinda
the
went going
highlight
down.
for me personally, was wrestling in front of about almost a little over 2,000 people. I got to wrestle out in the Putnam County Fairgrounds. My mom and dad was there. It was one of two matches they got to see, and my Aunt Mary and rest her soul. But yeah, they got to see me go wrestle in a stretcher match against Sean Dempsey for the AWA Mid-South Heavyweight title. It's on YouTube if you'd like to take a look at it, by all means.
Yeah. We'll need to look
I
at
took
it.
a lot of shots that night. I had 3 lumps on the side of my head here from chair shots.
I bet you were loving every minute of it, though. When it's
I was. The adrenaline was flowing. I loved it. You know, I was a baby face back then. I would hand out suckers to the fans. You know, you give them a shot, they start crying. You give them a sucker. But when I was a heel, I'd go out there and I'd be like, "Sit down, kid. Shut up, old man, or I'll break your hip. You're watching an artiste in action.
Oh my!
And if you're not down with the sickness, I got 2 fingers for you."
Oh, that's
Nothing more badass than an evil proctologist.
I'm like that. Just I feel like that would have eloquated well in WWE, but
Yeah.
man, those are Dr. Quack, one of the most interesting ones I've heard about. I mean,
And then
love
you went into the Indie Hall of Fame last year?
I did. The 2020 Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, the independent wing. They're waiting for Wichita Falls to finally open, but the plaque will be there.
Did you get a ring or anything, or what did you get?
I haven't gotten a ring yet. I don't think that's because they're still not operational. They've been actually closed down for almost 2 years.
Now,
Because of COVID, they've been closed down. So they're supposed to be reopening at some point. I don't know.
Now, I just have a quick question. Do you have
Sure.
any Canadian wrestling independent friends out here?
Oh, yeah. Jeremiah Peter Joseph, Sweet Daddy Soul. I got to bring him on our podcast. I run a podcast called the Dr. Quack Podcast. And let me tell you, he's a really good talent. We got to talk about Mexican wrestling, you know, down there, Lucha Libre. And he is actually from Canada. You know, he's wrestling up there with Benoit's son.
What? No.
Yeah, David Benoit wrestling over there. I believe it's forget the name of the Fed. God, a Canadian All Pro or something like that. I forget the name of it. I'd have to look it up.
What happened, if I may ask?
What's that?
Was that his coming to ring now?
Yeah, that's where he's at now. He's in Canada training.
No. I mean, like, he tried a stint back like 7 years ago and it went nowhere. When did he face Benoit's son?
Very recently, I know he's been on the shows with him. I don't know if he's faced him per se, but I know he's been on the shows with him.
Because I know he's training and I know he's signed to a promotion in Calgary. I don't know if he has made a debut yet. So
that I don't know. I've seen a photo between the two of them, so I know he knows him.
But
the
match has happened.
I mean,
to my knowledge, I'm not 100% sure if he did wrestle him or not, but I know that they were a part of the same Fed. There still are.
There you go.
So
if they are there, you never know.
Yeah. So now we're going to be kind of wrapping up now, right, Josh? Or Bubba, sorry.
Bubba's gonna.
Currently, what are you doing currently then?
Well, currently I'm working on things. I have projects I'm working on. Of course, I got the Dr. Quack podcast. We'll bring on guests like I'm doing here, and we'll talk from shop, and we'll do our reviews of old school pay-per-views, and we also have a thing called Dear Independent Wrestling. A lot of independent wrestlers need to have some knowledge behind them, so we try to teach.
And then he also does. He's not in the same promotion as I am. I'm in the VOH. I'm also in his as well. It's called HSP. You got a I think Mike's in the one with me.
We just had our first show. Had a lot of great promo artists on there. We're getting ready to do the semifinals here on October 14th.
That sounds
for the Pure Heart Championship. This is a beautiful belt. It's being made and should be here by the end of the month.
Now, how would you explain that? So everybody always asks me, because I talk about promo everywhere because I've been doing it 3-4 years. I'm one of the, OGs of where I'm from. how would you relate that to somebody like Bubba? How would you relate promos? Like the way I do it, they still get a little confused, but like on a wrestler's point of stance, how would you do that to a stranger or to someone that's outside of it?
Promo in some respects is 8 Mile, where you have two men, they're competing and they're talking trash. But it's more than that. It's more like psychology involved. Because you're developing a character. You're not coming out as yourself. A lot of guys are coming out as a character and development in the way of professional wrestling. And a lot of times you'll see guys, like we have one called the Storyteller. Storyteller reminds me a lot of the Genius when he cuts his promos. We have another guy named Negan. He reminds me a lot of Raven. If you listen to him, he'll talk a lot like Raven in his promos. Guys that are very dark, and you have guys that are funny. Of course, you've got Brick Johnson over there, the Brick, the reigning, defending, undisputed champion. Yeah, there's my Paul Heyman impression. But yes, the Brick over there, and he cuts a pretty mean promo himself.
There they go. But that's cool.
I've been called the Brock Lesnar of promos a couple times. I'm not going to toot my horn on that one. That kind of gets my ego a little going. But yeah, put in your plugs real quick.
What's that?
You can put in your plugs. Go ahead.
Yeah, by all means, check us out on the Dr. Quack podcast. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We'll be streaming a show live tomorrow. It'll be our Royal Rumble 91 review with myself and the important one, Mr. Mayhem. Also, go to Heart and Soul Promotions. That is on Facebook as well. We run great shows. And if you're an independent wrestler or if you're, on the big time, by all means, feel free to advertise there. We love seeing your stuff.
Well, thank you all. And thank you again,
Thank you.
Dr.